This is Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it's in the power of their hand. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rukakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. And peace, love, and salutations to the Akim that's out there laboring, that's of the hopeful elect, that's doing this work in truth and sincerity, and pretty much, breaking news, by the, everybody pretty much knows now that the news about the U.S. pretty much going into Venezuela and going into capture President Maduro and his wife in a covert operation, which is also, there was a small attack that was going on in the capital city of Caracas. And this pretty much happened in the wee hours of the morning, January 3rd, 2026. And pretty much, he's being charged now, okay? He's being pretty much extradited to New York City, okay, in the Southern District Court on federal charges of being charged with drug trafficking and possession of machine guns against the United States government, okay? And pretty much, that is pretty much the narrative that, has been built up to this incident that has happened. And, President Trump pretty much made his speech and said that they will pretty much now, put a regime change into that country. It is not fully pretty much, implemented, okay, because Maduro's people are still in power right now. Unless pretty much the government flips them to see things their way, so to speak. And this all pretty much all goes back to the confessions of a economic hitman. Okay, Maduro pretty much was in power, didn't want to play ball with the U.S., and this was the end result. Now, pretty much, I want to get how this iniquity, okay, that Micah spoke about, all right, the evil that they work upon their beds, but this is a long-standing plan, okay, of the NWO, okay, and the alleged narrative is that they were a drug trafficking hotbed in the Caribbean, okay, that's the narrative. But pretty much the truth is really coming out now that that country is pretty much not a major player in the drug trafficking industry, okay. But that is the narrative that's being gone with, and pretty much now there's already been revealed of why they're in that land to begin with, or want to pretty much go into that part of the world to put in their government, so to speak, okay, because of the natural resources, okay, and not just the oil, which is the largest reserves in the world, okay, a lot of it offshore, sweet crude oil, okay, that pretty much, of course, would have to be refined, but at the end of the day, it's a rich natural resource, and sources say that they have more oil than Saudi Arabia, okay. Really an unlimited supply of oil, which most of it is offshore, okay, and also, which is part of that triangle where there's a lot of minerals, okay, a lot of minerals where the U.S. was pretty much cut off from China, okay, to pretty much build weapons, all sorts of armory, lithium, okay, is another asset that they have there. Okay, and pretty much they have moved in now to obtain that. You see, okay, and this pretty much was a long-standing Devise iniquity from a long time ago. And if brothers pretty much remember, I'm gonna pull it up. This individual here, by the name of Aaron Russo, okay, which pretty much was the director of the movie Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. This interview was pretty much uh, carried out by Alex Jones, okay, back in 2007. You see, all right. Now this individual here, which is no longer here, but before his death, okay, his untimely death, I may add, he sat down with Alex Jones and spoke about um, his relationship or his friendship with one of the elites, and his name is not really worth mentioning, but at the end of the day, he had befriended this one of the insiders, the elites, and they pretty much wanted to pull him in, and they pretty much built up a friendship, and the conversation I might hit here at the 2 minute and 39 minute, the 2 minute and 39 second mark. Okay, this is just a part of this interview, okay, which I have here. The interview was pretty much, I believe, roughly 2 hours long or so. But he pretty much was telling him their plans that they had, okay, the elites, okay. So now we're gonna pick it up here, at that timestamp, and it says he's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened, and there were going to be an event. Never told me what. Okay, and now after the smoke cleared, pretty much what he's referring to when he said that. But this was in 2007. Remember that, and he said that he had told him this 11 months before that. So we're speaking pretty much in the year 2000 that they had this conversation. Okay, right? He says the event was going to be to the event was going to be, but there was going to be an event. Out of the event, we were going to invade Afghanistan and run a pipeline to the Caspian Sea. We're going to invade Iraq uh, to take over the oil fields and establish a base in the Middle East and take over part of and make it all part of the NWO and go after Chavez and Venezuela. And sure enough, 9/11 happened, and I remember he was telling me, okay? But like I said, he goes into the whole thing of the pretty much the quote unquote hoax on war and terror. Pretty much that's another topic of discussion and another lesson. But we want to focus on this whole thing of this iniquity that was practiced long ago about them pretty much capturing Venezuela. Okay, and pretty much he called this out pretty much 20 years ago. Okay, so now they really finally are achieving what they have practiced, the evil that was upon their beds, man. Okay, so pretty much when the morning was light, they practiced it because it was in the power of their hands. Okay, they went on and executed this in the wee hours of the morning, and that's how E likes to catch their adversaries, man. Okay, pretty much in the middle of the night, sleep, and they were able to catch him and his wife, and now they're bringing up charges on this. You see? Okay, so pretty much now this is where we're at now with this whole thing, and this is pretty much has come to pass, and a lot of things that he has spoke about in this interview, which is pretty much a renowned video amongst the brothers and everything that a lot of this is pretty much coming to pass, man. Okay, all right, and I think somewhere in here he may even mention Iran, which is another conquest that's on the agenda. But pretty much focusing on Venezuela, we want to try to get a little backstory on the whole relationship with the U.S. and Venezuela. Okay, it says the U.S. relationship with Nicolas Maduro, the longtime president of Venezuela, was a long-standing, complex, and for much of Maduro's time in power, deeply adversarial. Here's a clear summary of the of the prior relationship between the U.S. and the Maduro's government. Okay, and we know pretty much before Maduro's presidency, Venezuela and the United States were historically close, especially economically, largely because Venezuela was a single supplier of oil to the United States and housed extensive U.S. energy investment throughout the 20th century. Okay, under Hugo Chavez. Okay, because at this time we want to talk about Chavez. All right, where he was in power at the pretty much the time of that interview. Okay, when he was alive. But it says here Hugo Chavez, okay, presidency from 1999 to 2013 marked a turning point. Chavez nationalized oil assets, expelled some of U.S. firms from new contracts, and pursued alliances with countries like Cuba, Russia, China, Iran, drawing U.S. suspicion. So now the long-standing relationship between the U.S. and Venezuela was pretty much souring. Okay, all right. Now, pretty much, a lot of the puppet governments that are set up, okay, pretty much side with the colonizer, and the people suffer. Okay, you see, the people pretty much suffer because the natural resources don't benefit the people. Okay, you see, but Hugo Chavez was for his people. Okay, and hey, the powers that be don't like that. Okay, that which was explained in the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Okay, so pretty much, you know, the relationship turned cold. Okay, so pretty much now it says here, Nicolas Maduro, Chavez ally and vice president, succeeded him in 2013. Okay, that we all know that Chavez pretty much mysteriously died. They say of pretty much of food poisoning. But we pretty much everybody is speculating a covert operation that had happened to get him out of power, and they had another dilemma. The U.S. had another dilemma because Maduro pretty much was teetering the fence, and it ended up happening that he didn't play ball. Okay, you see, but it says relations worsened steadily. The U.S. criticized Maduro's government for authoritarian practices, election irregularities, and human rights abuses. Well, it's always the accuser, okay? Meddling, pretty much. And this is what this is all about. Okay, you see? All right. So pretty much here we stand now, and I don't need to read too much of this in there, okay? But when you want to talk about the reason why you have a lot of migrants coming to the U.S. the reason was because of heavy sanctions that were put on Venezuela. Okay, so now you oppress the people, you put sanctions on the country economic viability turns sour. Okay, and the people will migrate from out of that country. Okay, so pretty much, man, this was all the doing of the powers that be. Okay, you see, it says sanctions and pressured campaigns. This is all leading up to what had happened in the wee hours in the morning. Okay, the U.S. imposed multiple rounds of sanctions on Venezuela and key officials under Maduro, targeting oil, financial sectors, and individuals accused of corruption and undermining democracy. Okay, everything's always in the name of democracy. Remember that. The sanctions aim to pressure Maduro to step aside. Because why? It's because they want to pretty much put in their guys, so to speak. Okay? You see? All right? So it says, under recent U.S. policy, particularly in 2025, the U.S. placed a bounty, reportedly up to $50 million, on Maduro relating to alleged narco-terrorism and drug trafficking charges, which Maduro's government vehemently denied. Okay? And this was the narrative that they had to paint for the media of pretty much blowing up those so-called fishing boats, or those speed boats, we want to call them. Okay? And for people to really believe that that one boat would reach the shores of America, okay? It wouldn't even get a tenth of the way to its destination. Okay? So how would that pretty much that boat refueled. Okay, you see, all right, that boat was not designed to for a long haul, so to speak. Okay, all right, but it says here, okay, but pretty much, it led to where at the end of the day, the escalation in tensions, it pretty much led to where we are now. You see, okay, but it says here, right, right, because they practice, okay, what they have devised, that iniquity, okay, all right, of being that oppressor, okay. Verse 2, this is Micah 2 verse 2. And they covered fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And pretty much, man, hey, at the end of the day, not only does the West pretty much, practice the business of colonizing nations and oppressing them, he likes to change their culture as well. Okay, because things that that country is pretty much against, that maybe the alphabet type of agenda, they inject that into it. Okay, you see, everything that pretty much goes against their customs, that also is oppressed. Okay, so you have that because as a mental net mechanism amongst the people, so that the people don't rise up. You see, and you pretty much give these people another option, and pretty much the guise of what they want to say freedom, so to speak. Okay, if the people benefited from the resources itself with the right leadership and power, the people wouldn't have a complaint. Okay, the people wouldn't have to be in a situation where they have to migrate from their country, man. You see, right? All right. Um, right. It says, therefore, thus say the Lord, look, thus say the Lord, behold, against this whole family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall you go haughtingly, for this is a time of evil. Okay, so this pretty much now is at the point of no return, so to speak. Okay, and this is what I always say. You got to remember, World War III will be fought on multiple fronts around the world. Okay, but the main battle royale is going to be in that so-called Middle East region. Okay, you see, but we're seeing all these fronts being set up. Okay, now we also got the situation, in Ukraine still. Okay, you got the situation going on right now in the Middle East with things they're brewing. Okay, you see, and you also have the situation going on in the Far East, in the South China Sea. Okay, because now the situation with China and Taiwan. Okay, and the U.S. pretty much has interests in Taiwan. Okay, so that pretty much they would have to pretty much get involved in that as well. So this place pretty much, man, is just like the Roman Empire, man, the demise of the Roman Empire, where it had spread their military thin, so to speak, man. Okay, and at this point right now, you're not gonna have people pretty much willingly going on ahead to the service, man. They would have to have some type of a plethora of incentives, okay, and jarheads, so to speak, for people to actually sign up and go over there to fight, man. You see, okay, we always talk about this draft that's gonna happen, and pretty much, hey, it may be to where people will be drafted with incentives, because what, you know, the morality, is shot here, man. Okay, okay. So the morale for people to go ahead and this is why we believe that another effort's gonna happen, man. Okay, and the people here, the sheeple here, they'll get emotional and just like how it was on 911. When you see the flags everywhere and everybody's pretty much patriotic and that this whole thing, man. Okay, but again, do the people benefit from these type of advances, but pretty much now what the thing is now is they scare the people. Okay, they keep the people in fear of the so-called boogeyman. Okay, all right, and this is what this man has always done. Is always had this self-created boogeyman that they have to go after, so to speak. Everybody's the bad guy, so to speak. But when you look at it through a spiritual lens, this devil has a bone to pick with everybody. Okay, this is why his demise and ending, according to the scriptures, is going to be to where everybody turns on this place, man. Okay, you see. All right, from there, all right, let's go to Habakkuk chapter 2. And pretty much I'm gonna just read a little bit in this in here and grab up a little bit of the meat off of this scripture here. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And we've seen everything that this man's doing, and we understand that his soul is lifted up with pride, is not upright in him. This man is not righteous to any stretch of the imagination. Okay, as much as he likes to use this media, okay, which is a power tool to make himself look squeaky clean and make him look like he's a fight for justice. Okay, all right. This man is the common denominator, all right, of what is being stirred up in the earth, man. Okay, causing a ruckus everywhere. You see? Okay, it all leads to this man's evil doings, man. Okay, it says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. Okay, he neither keepeth at home. Okay, he don't keep his ass at home, man. He's in everybody else's business. Who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. All right, this man can never have enough, man. All right, death follows this man. You see? Okay, all right. That pride, man. That pride is what through that philosophy and wine and through the blessing of the sword. Okay, he's winning. Okay, and he understands that nobody can match his military might. Okay, so this is the bully on the block, so to speak. Okay, all right. But what's happening now? Okay, there's a shift in the earth, and the weak are saying that we're strong now. Okay, but it says, right? Neither keepeth at home who largeneth his desire as hell, and is as deaf, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And the reason why he's able to do that, okay, this great melting pot, okay, you have people that came over here in search of pursuit of happiness, okay, all right, and people come here under other circumstances of being, torn away from their ravished homeland, okay, because of this man's iniquity, okay, that he practices pretty throughout the earth, okay. You see the evil that he has crafted up on his bed, and is pretty much behind closed doors. You see, okay, and it says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him?" Right? Okay, who he's talking about? All these nations and all the people that he's heaping up unto himself. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, saying, woe to him that increased that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Okay, and we understand, they're more concerned with military funding, okay, for foreign governments and for themselves, rather than to pretty much fix the economy. Okay, the thick clay is pretty much that debt. Okay, this is the same situation that the first leg of Rome has pretty much had encountered. okay, before their demise. Okay, spending their military thin across the world. Okay, infrastructure falling apart, infrastructure not being updated. Okay, and pretty much are finding themselves in debt. Okay, right? It says, shall not they rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? Thou shalt be for booties unto them. You see? Okay? And it says that, hey, the the labor is gonna overtake the oppressor, man. Okay? You know? Every hand of the wicked shall be against them, man. Okay? You see? Because we're seeing now that this man, and it's for another lesson, but I want to make this point that his narrative is falling apart. His narrative is only paper thin. Okay, to pretty much continue to justify himself in everything that he does. He justifies himself in his wickedness with his paper thin narrative that he sets up. You see, and the people are pretty much waking up to it, man. Okay, and it says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that covet with the evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Okay, you see, and that's what this man does, man. Okay, he covets with the evil covetousness, man. Okay, bad intentions is in his mind. Okay, it's not to pretty much liberate any type of people or to give people some type of independence. Okay, it is for his own financial gain at the end of the day, man. Okay, you see, it says, verse 10, thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and has sinned against thy soul. You know, this man has zero integrity. Integrity is not in this man's vocabulary at all. Okay, you know, the scriptures speak about never trust thy enemy. Trust thy enemy. Okay, and look at world leaders that you have seen that were friends with him. Okay, and pretty much, what would this man do? This man would somehow, some way turn on him. Okay, because of that leader not following the marching orders, man, but would probably want to help his own people, man, that are suffering, but not playing ball. You see? Okay, you know, and these corporations are getting filthy rich, all right, from these contracts and these deals that they have currently with a lot of these countries, man. Okay, and if you come in and try to interrupt that, then hey, you're destined for your own demise, man. And this is what they have shown with these different leaders, man. These different leaders that did not have the marching orders of the agenda were to be cut off, man. Okay, any kind of way, whether through unaliving them or putting them in jail forever, man. Okay, you see, for the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. You know, and everything is rising up against this man. Okay, you know, the evidence is there. Okay, you see, all right, you know, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establish a city by iniquity. And this is what happens, man. Okay, this is the MO. Okay, but the scriptures speak about woe unto him. You see, let's see if we can get that woe. At last, ha ho oh woe. Let's see, which really means just destruction, man. Okay. See if I can just grab some out of this. Well, hey, so the Lord, man, well, it's pretty much that destruction, man. Okay? You see? All right? So we're seeing now how these things are unfolding, man, and we pretty much, man, we haven't even been a whole week into this year. You see? All right? And pretty much, man, this was already pretty much spoke about, okay? Of what their plan was, man. And it's still not done, you know? All right? But this is something that we knew, and we know that that's right now is another thing that has come to pass of what this man has spoken about, man. Okay? You know, of course, you know, the scriptures, we filter everything through the scriptures, okay? But this is pretty much a good point of reference, okay? And this man almost also, you know, he went into the MOTB. That was the main thing of what he was speaking about. And we're seeing how that is materializing now, okay? But, you know, when you look back at this, pretty much this interview, it ages very well, so to speak. Okay, because he speaks about a lot of things now that we're actually seeing. Okay, you see, all right, and hey, you know, there's a lot more. Pretty much, man, there's a lot more meat that you can get off of what this man is speaking about, man. You know, okay, you know, of course, we know we see it through the scriptures. At the end of the day, we filter it through the scriptures. Okay, but he spoke a lot of truth. You see, okay. So, all right, with that, I'm going to end it there. And I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, Shalom.